Good morning. It's wonderful to see you all this morning. Hey, it's great to see everybody this morning. Thank you all for being here. It's such a beautiful day. I have no idea why you're here, but it is wonderful to see you. This is a place of paradox. This week, our congregation welcomed into the weekly round of our facility use the 5th AA or DAA group that uses our facility week in and week out. This is a place where we welcome each other, where we support each other, and where we make life possible for each other. And also, this week, members of our congregation organized and led the Spartanburg Hub City Brewfest downtown, and members of our congregation organized fundraising to support the United Way of the Piedmont at the Spartanburg Hub City Brewfest downtown. And your assistant minister, Ann Garner, and I were invited to do the blessing of the brews to launch the Hub City Spartanburg Brewfest downtown. This is a place of paradox where we bring together things that are very different with profound respect for each of our lives and what we each need. We put different things in our cups because we are different people living different lives, but we can be together. And we are people who welcome and who lead, who seek to make life possible, not just for ourselves, but for circles and circles of people that we will never know. To do it with seriousness and joy, serious joy. So, I'm begging you to come on November 18th. For a year and a half, we've been doing a visioning process, the purpose of which is to bring our work into alignment, welcoming groups and being in the community with groups that seem completely disparate, but in which we bring our life force to bear. I urge you to come. The ideas that we've generated are so rich. The leadership of the group guiding us is so committed. They are meeting every single week between now and then. It's going to be a full day of thinking together and talking with each other and working together. And if you're not there, we will miss you. Not just your voice will be missed, or if you get angry about what comes out of it, we told you to be there and you weren't. It's not that. It's that we're going to miss you if you're not there. Please come and enjoy and join in this rich effort. We've taken our time with it. It has been so generative. We want you there. And in the meantime, while that group is planning, I want to ask you to look at this sheet. I'm going to give it to you every single Sunday until then. And it's asking you to do two things. One is look at our draft purpose statement, fusion of mission and vision statement, and make notes. If you think it's crap, then write that. If you think it's great, then tell us that. If there's some things that you'd like to have changed or think should be different, then do that. And the second thing is, we've done all this thinking, all this discussion, all of this visioning together. But we want to ask you one more time, what is your wildest dream for this place? What is your wild dream? Push your thinking to the limit. In your heart, in your soul, what do you long for this place to be? And tell us. You can email us. You can give this to us. You can drop this in the offering plate today or anytime till November 18th. But please, 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 we will miss you if you're not there. Please engage. Open up your bulletin to the Connect, if you would. You're going to hear some of this from DJ in just a minute, but I'm going to say it too. Next Sunday, we are going to have the most fabulous guest speaker. and I'm going to be at a different service with my family. In the morning, I'm going to celebrate, from my Scots-Irish Presbyterian background, Reformation Sunday. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to be back here to celebrate, from my Scots-Irish, older than Presbyterian background, Samhain. We're going to have a Samhain celebration here at the church, led by folks for whom this is their core spiritual practice in this congregation. If the weather is good, we'll be outside, and if it's not, we're going to be here in the sanctuary. But you are invited. This is a Wiccan celebration, and everyone is welcome, whether they are Wicca or not. I'm not, and I'm so excited to come because all our lives are deep layers of history. As I say to my students in college, Jesus didn't have a Christmas tree, but I put one up every Christmas. These traditions are deep and rich, and this is a chance for you to come and take part if you'd like. So you're very welcome. Next Sunday, it's right there at the very top of your announcements. And also next weekend is Pride. It has moved forward one weekend. So if you're feeling a little off on your calendar, you're right. It's next weekend. And we need a lot of volunteers. We need people to bake cookies. We need people to help staff our booth. We need everybody to come in March. If you look at the very back of Connect, there is an interfaith service that Faith Taylor and Noah Tobin, who is our guest speaker next week, and Ann Garner are going to lead, that you are urged to come to. It is interfaith. Bring people with you to show that spiritual communities support Pride, right? We support our folks with an X. We support each other. Come. We need for you to engage, so please either see and to sign up today, or you can click the link on the closed Facebook page or in Happenings to sign up. We need a lot of volunteers. Stacy Jackson, our general, has organized the most amazing booth. It is going to be so positive and so in your face and so collaborative, you're not going to believe it when you see it. And we need your help to do it. So please come. Hey, AA times 5 and Brewfest. Visioning and visioning to create a shared vision. Pride and Reformation Sunday and Samhain and all of it. All of it. What an amazing people we are.
So happy to see on the news this morning the vehicles that were entering Gaza to give those folks a little relief. I was looking at some of the crawlers under the main broadcast, and it was saying how some of the surgeons were using clothing to do surgery and only a bit of anesthesia, and people screaming under surgery. War is also hard for children. I know I saw one broadcast after the Rogue missile hit the hospital of a little boy. He was running away, he was shaking, he was jerking, and it just stayed in my mind for days. And I thought, that little boy, where was he running to? He probably didn't have a mother with open arms to take him in. And I wondered if he'd just fallen down later and died. It was rough. But the song I'm going to sing is called When the Children Cry. It's, I think it's kind of like, in a way, it's a song of hope, kind of like John Lennon's Imagine, some of the words. One word that I've substituted the name of a deity for love. That's the only change I've made in the song. So this is what I'm going to do. Little child, dry your crying eyes. How can I explain the fear you feel inside? 'Cause you were born into this evil world where man is killing man, no one knows just why. What have we become? Just look what we have done. All that we destroyed, you must build again. When the children cry, let them know we tried. So when the children sing, then the new world begins. Little child, you must show the way to a better day for all the young. 'Cause you were born for the world to see that we all can live in love and peace. No more presidents and all the wars will end. One united world under love. When the children cry, let them know we tried. So when the children sing, then the new world begins. What have we become? Just look what we have done. All that we destroyed, you must build again. No more presidents, and all the wars will end. One united world under love. When the children cry, let them know we tried. So when the children fight, let them know it ain't right. When the children pray, let us know the way. 'Cause when the children sing, then the new world begins.
Okay, that was a hard act to follow, but very nicely done. All right, good morning. My name is DJ Johnson, and I serve on the Board of Trustees of the Starship Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg, whose mission is to boldly go where no church has ever gone before, at least not in Spartanburg. I'm delighted to welcome you in person and virtually, wherever the camera is. This is a welcoming congregation where everyone is welcome just as we are. If you're visiting with us, we would love to meet you and share more about our congregation. Visitor cards may be found in the pocket in the back of the chair in front of you. Please feel welcome to fill out one and place in the offering plate during the service so we'll be better able to connect with you. If you look toward the back of your bulletin or in the middle of it, Scott pointed that out about the connect. You'll see that sheet. There you will find many announcements, events, and other information. I am not going to read all of those things, but I will cover a few. Scott has already covered Pride. That was number one, so we just skip that now. Although in case you didn't catch, it has moved from Barnett Park to downtown, so if you go to Barnett Park, you will be marching by yourself. And he did mention that we do need help with cookies and posting and marching. So please come out for that. You'll see the happenings link is in there also. Next, if you're considering joining the congregation, the Path to Membership class is the place to learn all about us. I keep looking at Ricky. I told him if I start talking too fast when I get nervous, he's supposed to wave at me. So far, he's just sitting there. The next Path to Membership class will be held Sunday, November 5th, starting at 12:30 downstairs in Wild Hall. Lunch will be served and child care will be available. You'll find a sign-up sheet on the whiteboard in the foyer. That's right outside the doors between with all those other things. So we strongly encourage you to come to that class. And this is a good one. Also, the annual auction will be Saturday, November 11th, starting at 3 p.m. Doors will open at 2:30, so you can come peruse everything. There will be a silent auction, a live auction, and sign-up sheets for cool stuff, such as the infamous cornhole tournament. Woohoo! Yes. Click on the link in the happenings to submit items and make plans for a fun afternoon, even if you lose every time. So I won't go there. Next Sunday, there's lots of things happening next Sunday, but next Sunday, which is the 29th, is our Boo in the UU. Notice I said Boo. It is not a fall festival, it's a Boo. And it's downstairs in Wild Hall after the service, and I think there's a potluck in there somewhere. There will be candy and games. Who doesn't like candy and games? And of course, costumes. You're never too old for candy, games, and costumes. Which brings us, lastly, to my last thing. In case you need some ideas for costumes, the Spartanburg Community Band, which is a concert band consisting of over 55 volunteer musicians. Notice I said 55. The city once gave us 15 chairs for Red, White, and Boom. I guess if you would stand up, who knows. But we will present our Halloween-inspired free fall concert this afternoon at 4 o'clock in Twitchell Auditorium, lots of seats, located at Converse University. Now that's just a few blocks on East Main Street. If you ever go past that big building, that's Twitchell. Beautiful place to play. Our fall concerts tend to have a Halloween tradition of trying to match costumes to some of the music. Guess what one of our music is going to be? This year, the concert's first half features movies, sci-fi, and fantasy, including music from Star Wars, Jurassic World. You probably won't see any T-Rex. You can't play the instruments. And Star Trek. Yeah, you got that. After a short intermission, the second half will come back to earth with music by George Gershwin. Diane Lee of Channel 7 News will be our MC and one of our soloists for the Gershwin portion. If you've never heard her sing, she is quite wonderful. Also music, costumes, soloists, all for free. We never charge admission for any of our concerts. And that brings me to my last little bit. Thank you for making this a place of care, kindness, and joy. Now I must boldly go back to my seat so we can continue the service. Thank you.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting is from the book of Job. After the Lord had spoken these words to Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, "My wrath is kindled against you and against your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has. Now, therefore, take 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering, and my servant Job shall pray for you. For I will accept his prayer, not to deal with you according to your folly, for you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has done." So Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite went and did what the Lord had told them, and the Lord accepted Job's prayer. Please join us in singing hymn 115, God of Grace and God of Glory.
God of
So as Scott has pointed out every Sunday, I believe, it's my fault that y'all are having to hear every week about the book of Job and unjust suffering. And I'm not sorry. When I first came to this church over 5 years ago, it was one of the lowest points in my life. I had lost most of my support system and family, and I was very lost. And this place wrapped me up like a warm blanket. It has that power. I swear it's magic. And now we honor that power through one of our most treasured traditions and our most treasured rituals. As we go to the rippling bowl, whatever pain, whatever unjust sorrow you carry in your heart, please give it to us as a community so we can wrap you in a warm blanket. And of course, we also want your joy. So anything that you want to celebrate, we ask you to share that with us as well. And for anyone who cannot or does not want to or doesn't feel comfortable or is not here in person that wants to give to this community to be warmly held, please just focus on your intention, on your heart. We still gladly receive whatever it is that you want us to help you hold. One of the things I love about this place is that we don't follow any dogma. But that in no way means that we don't deeply, deeply commit to this place, to one another, and to the journey we are on together as a people. Please join me in reading the covenant that we have made to one another in place of dogma. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. And now comes many of our favorite times in the service, where we share the love with one another. Many of us, me included, are very touchy-feely and would love a hug or the like. Some people are a little more reserved and would like simply a nod or a wave. Please respect whatever anyone wants, but bring your whole self into the joyful chaos that will ensue. And as hard as it is, when Aaron plays the music, we have to come back. Wow, if I was scoring you guys on a scale of 0 to 10, y'all might get like a 3. Aren't you glad we don't grade each other here? So now comes the time where we share our material gifts with this community and with the world at large. We all have a myriad of gifts, some tangible, some not so tangible, but just as valuable and just as important. And part of supporting this community is sharing whatever gifts it is that we have with it. This is a living, breathing organism. And like all living, breathing organisms, it either grows or it dies. So thank you for helping it grow.
Should have been afraid long before this, Kara. Join me in silence. Every year we hold an auction here at the church to support the life of the congregation. You heard DJ invite us all to that. Part of that auction each year is for folks to be able to bid on sermons, meditations, where they can choose the topic and ask me to speak on it. A couple years ago, Mary Underwood purchased one of those sermons and asked me to speak on a topic, and I said, Mary, I can't talk about that. This is the only time I've ever refused anybody. We still are debating that. We found a different topic to address. And then another year, Mary purchased another sermon, and she asked that I speak on the book of Job. It's not usual for us to work so closely with a text from one religious tradition, especially not Jewish and Christian tradition. We do that, but we try to spread things out because we're a multi-religious congregation. We have many different traditions represented here, particularly because of the dominance of a certain kind of Christian culture in this place. We don't ever want to miscommunicate what we're doing. We're not here about conformity. We're not here about adherence. We are not here about brainwashing. We are not here about coercion. We're not about any of those things. And I want to express gratitude to everyone for the way that you have engaged with this series. For some of our folks who are of Jewish and Christian spiritual commitments, it's been very meaningful to work so deeply. Sometimes people feel a lack of that. And we want to find a way to keep drawing that in without alienating the rest of us, right? We've done that work this month as this congregation, and that's a muscle we can keep exercising, so thank you. But way more to the point, this is really painful stuff. And we have watched the world light on fire while we've been dealing with this material. And I'm really grateful for the way you have turned into that, engaged with it, as opposed to flee it or cover it over. It's exactly what the story is asking of us. So for all the ways that you've engaged, I thank you. Now, we have a tradition in this congregation. It comes from humanism and all that it brings into the UU movement. It's called a talkback session. We were supposed to have it last week, and I totally forgot to announce it, so it fell apart. It wasn't on purpose. I love it, and I wish we could do it every Sunday. Maybe we'll figure out a way to do that. I think it'd be really fun. I think it's really enjoyable. The premise is, after the service, for just a few minutes, we gather right here, and you can ask me anything you want about the service, about the meditation, or about anything. And it generally devolves into a totally freewheeling discussion about everything. We're going to do that after this service to make up for the lost week last week, and because this material is so rich, there's so much to discuss. And when we talk, it doesn't just have to be about what we talk about today. It can be about anything across the month and then going beyond that as well. So after the service, you're invited to just come down front, and we'll gather to discuss. You're invited. That's one of the ways that we undermine authority here, right? Just in case there's any concern about coercion, right? I stick it to you, and you stick it right back to me times 100. What we bring back. The story of Job in Jewish and Christian collections of sacred texts is meant to be an interruption. When scholars look at the book of Job, they can see clearly that it is in three pieces. There's a beginning and an end that are an old folk tale. The way they know this is the way that the story is written, literally written, the language that's used. It's old language. The words are old. The names for the deity are old words that come from certain time periods. We can substantiate this in the archaeological and historical record. And the message of the very beginning and the very end is an old, worn-out message. Very problematic message. In technical speak, it's called a Deuteronomic code out of the book of Deuteronomy. It's like super conservative karma think. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. End of story. It's very simplistic morality. And the stories that come to us through Jewish and Christian writing show us that when communities of people apply that kind of thinking, it is violent and destroys lives. It is brutal, becomes very punitive. And there are congregations in our city right now that are preaching it right now. And there are people trying to figure out how to get out right now. One of the reasons that we're doing our visioning process is to figure out how we can remain an authentic community that's good for the folks that are here, but let people know they can come through the doors to find haven here as well. Because the stuff we're talking about is happening in real time right now, all around us. The book of Job, though, is more than just that. Somebody looked at that old story and said, this is crap. This pretends to be holy, and it hurts. And so they ripped the story in two and inserted into it a cyclone of thought, a poem that runs for 40 chapters, spinning and spinning and spinning, with very different language from the folk tale at the beginning and the end. Highly sophisticated, philosophical, poetic language, the most vibrant, beautiful, challenging images and ideas, all of which lead to no answers on the question of human suffering. The question, why does this happen, is never answered. But the literary expression of it is profoundly compelling, very beautiful. And it's all for one purpose, to interrupt that old story and tear it apart. And the reason to interrupt that old story that is still being preached today in our own city is to make us stop and remember that human suffering is real. That's it. Suffering is real. And that any explaining away of it, even when we know some of the causes, even if we look at a geopolitical situation and can trace back history over decades and over world wars and over anti-Semitism, over fights, over colonialism, over territorial disputes, and people gathered in rooms in Paris and London arbitrarily drawing lines on a map with crayons, regions they don't even know. Even when we can name all of those causes, there is no explanation of why people suffer the way that we do. And what the book of Job wants to do is to stop us and make us just face this reality. Because we want to run from it. It's awful. And we don't know what to do about it. It's so difficult. And the book shows us 3 faithful friends who come to sit with Job. Buddies who sit for 7 days, putting dirt on their heads and tearing their clothes, crying with him beyond words because his suffering is so real and they can see it and they are right there with him. As we say, we should be to be with each other. That's what our work is, to be with each other until on the seventh day, they just want to rest. They've used up their tears. They don't want to do this anymore. And so they turn on Job and start to blame him. God, Job, this is getting to be a lot. Don't you need to fix this? Man, you must have really screwed up for it to be like this. People who were friends suddenly becoming adversaries, accusers, who lay all the blame on the man who is suffering and he doesn't know why. And the suffering is breaking him. Not just breaking his spirit, breaking his body, breaking his life. So we're going to do what you never do on TV. It's called bad airtime, what we're about to do. It's going to be uncomfortable. We're just going to sit in silence for a minute. And it's going to feel like it's too long. But we're going to do what the book of Job asks us to do in real time. While people are preaching trash all around us, we're going to take the interruption. We're going to interrupt this live stream for real experience. I want to ask you just to sit aware of the reality of suffering. It's a huge ask, I know. Somebody near you needs comfort. Ask them before you touch them. But be a friend to the people around you. Remember that Job's friends failed him. Don't fail each other. Sit in reality with me. Stay with it. One of the things the story of Job is trying to tell us, it's shouting at us through these pages, trying to get our attention, is that we are completely within our rights as human beings and totally free as human beings to make this story and any other story we've inherited our own. We do not have to accept the way these stories have been given to us or imposed on us or used against us. In the Bible itself, the Jewish Tanakh and the Christian Bible, there is a book that takes sacred text and rips it in half and sticks in a completely opposite, contradictory poem to say, no, that's what happens in here. Anybody who tells you they believe every word of the Bible has not read the damn Bible. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And if it's helpful, just remember that the next time somebody's trying to use this as a weapon. They're speaking in ignorance, and I'm sorry for them. I'd be glad to sit here with them and tell them. I'll even listen to them first. But we can make these stories our own. It is okay with me if you never read these stories. It's okay. I never want for you to hear me insisting. No. Wisdom comes to us from innumerable sources, and all I want for each of us is to connect with the sources that we can connect with and that feed us, right? But if there's stories here that trouble you, or stories here that you love, I will also sit with you and listen and read them with you. Because if they have caused you trouble, believe me, we can flip them. I went to school for that. And if you love them, I love a lot of them too. And we can share that. These stories we can make our own. In celebration of Pride, let me just give you another example, just to show you what I'm talking about. Did you know that in the first chapter of Genesis that begins the whole book, the image of God that's presented is that God is transgender? Male and female coalesce in the Godhead in Genesis chapter 1. And all of our gender expressions flow from the fact that the divine image is placed in us. God is trans, y'all. God is trans. Okay? Tell your friends over the live stream. That's what we can do with this story. It's right there. Okay? And we have the right and the freedom to do that. We have the right and the freedom. This story is also trying to show us that when we are in pain, and we don't know why, when things have fallen apart, when there is suffering in the world, it is a holy act to turn to that image of the deity or just reality itself and to say, no way, no way. This is not okay. For 40 chapters, Job revolts. He screams at the top of his lungs, why? And the image of God presented in the book of Job crumbles. It is shown to be an idol that cannot cope with real experience. The book of Job is destroying the image of a false God. By crying out from human experience This is not okay. This is not okay. No loving deity would have this as a plan. No law can violate human existence and be a just law. This is not okay. And the book of Job says, you have every right. You have a sacred gift to scream in revolt. For a long time, I wondered in my adolescence why I found really profound works of literature by atheists to be so compelling. I was this Southern Baptist kid trying to figure his life out. And why did I absorb the writing of the existentialists? I'm not talking about the cheap polemics that make $1 million on bestseller lists. I'm not talking about that trash. I'm talking about the people who are crying out in revolt against the injustice of the world. And it's because they're doing a sacred work. They are honoring the holiness of our existence and crying out for justice. And the book of Job underscores the beauty and power of this, the importance of it, with a short passage that Mary read for us right at the end of the book, where God, in a pretty intimidating aspect, turns not to Job to chastise him for his revolt, but to his friends. And God says, you idiots, you have completely misunderstood who I am and what reality is. And Job got it right. Job got it right. The story of Job says that screaming at the top of your lungs every blasphemy and profanity you can think of and to cry for justice in an unjust world is blessed by God. That's what the story says. And it's Job's prayer on behalf of his friends that brings them back into right relationship with God. And this is the startling final thing that we learn from the book of Job. It's the person who's faced reality in all of its terror and starkness. The person who has stared into the bright light or the utter darkness. The person who has turned to look the world full in the face. That brings back to all of us true connection, deep connection, whether it is with a God or no God, whether it is with light or with darkness, whether it is with wonder or terror. We see different things. It is the person who has the courage to face reality full in the face that brings back to the world a power, a truthfulness, consciousness of what really is, an interruption through all of the bullshit. So that we can be healed.
Please join me in hymn number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
Keep on to find it.
as we extinguish our chalice, more words from the book of Job. I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me that I did not know. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you.
When the service is over, we'll have a talk back session. You can thank Mary and you can cuss me. Why? Why? And is there even anybody listening? Job gives us no answers. But from our human outrage at injustice, when we scream, why? We bring healing to this world.